Heartwarming moment. Millionaire discovers amazing transformation in poor girl thanking for bread. Jake Whitmore, a 35-year-old millionaire, hardly noticed the world beyond his corporate empire. His life was a whirlwind of deals, purely focused on numbers and profit margins, all set against the glimmering skyline of New York City. However, on that fateful afternoon, amid the luxurious chaos of a charity event, something compelled him to venture out of his comfort zone. He wandered into the surrounding streets, lured by an unexpected vibrancy in a rundown neighborhood that he hadn't been aware of before. The sounds of laughter and the smell of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, prompting him to follow his senses. As he turned a corner, he stumbled upon a small bakery filled with warmth, heart, and the spirit of resilience. Behind the counter, there was Mia, a spirited 10-year-old girl with enormous brown eyes and a smile that radiated like sunshine. She greeted each customer with a genuine thank you, her joy contrasting sharply with the worn surroundings. Jake couldn't look away, watching Mia alongside her mother, who worked tirelessly kneading dough. A tightness gripped Jake's chest. They moved in harmony, the kind of connection he remembered having with his own father before they drifted apart. A pang of guilt washed over him as he thought about all the struggles around him that he overlooked. Mia's laughter echoed in his mind, an infectious melody that beckoned him to recognize the beauty in adversity. Jake's moment of introspection shattered when he overheard a group of community members discussing the bakery's looming closure. Economic instability was threatening to snuff out the flickering light this bakery offered, a haven for veterans and their families. A sinking feeling settled in Jake's stomach. The weight of his own privilege felt like a heavy chain, binding him to the very indifference he wanted to escape. Before he could approach, a misunderstanding ignited tensions between him and Mia. "You wouldn't understand what it's like here, living paycheck to paycheck," she exclaimed, her hands on her hips. The intensity of her words cut through him like ice, sending waves of discomfort through Jake. He realized his wealth had fostered assumptions about worthiness and success, a truth Mia didn't mince words about. The pride in her voice demanded respect. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. With emotions simmering, an unexpected connection began to form, layered with understanding and empathy. As Mia stood in defiance, the fire in her eyes mirrored the hopes of her community, a fierce reminder that dignity and resilience run deeper than mere survival. Meanwhile, Jake contemplated the potential of his own redemption amid the backdrop of the city's struggles, and whether he could be more than just a bystander. While Mia's bakery began to draw support from the community, the tug in Jake's heart led him towards a pivotal moment. Just then, he caught sight of his estranged father across the street. The man had once instilled hard work and humility within him, and yet here they were two worlds apart. Would he take the leap to reconnect and embrace a journey of transformation? Or would fear keep him shackled to his comfortable life, losing the opportunity to reshape not just his fate, but also Mia's? The choice loomed as powerfully as the hope that radiated from the small bakery where dreams baked fresh each day. Jake's heart raced as he watched his father, the man who had once been his hero, now standing at a distance like a ghost of his past. Years of bitterness and silence hung heavy in the air. The memories flooded back hours spent working on construction sites, the warmth of his dad's pride in a job well done, the laughter shared over simple dinners. But those days felt like they belonged to another lifetime. As Mia continued to serve customers with that infectious spirit, Jake felt pulled in two directions. One part of him urged to dive into the chaos of the bakery, to embrace the warmth that surrounded Mia, while the other part clamored to confront the man across the street who had once been central to his joy and misery alike. "Mia," he breathed, gently breaking the trance she was in. She turned, eyes still fierce, the fire replaced briefly by curiosity. Jake hesitated, searching for the words that felt trapped beneath the weight of his doubt. What if I helped? Her little brow furrowed. You mean money? She asked, a distinct edge to her voice. You think that can save this place? You think that fixes everything? No, he stammered. I didn't mean to imply, then what do you mean? She crossed her arms, her stance protective. It reminded Jake of when he faced down a foe at the table, adjusting his tactics as the game progressed. I meant I don't know. I just want to help, whatever that looks like, he replied, his voice steadying. Maybe I could talk to the community, find a way to keep this bakery going? Mia's gaze softened, suspicion giving way to consideration. You think they'll believe you? You're the guy who flies in and out of a fancy place while we fight for every crumb. Jake felt that familiar guilt rush back. She was right. The chasm between their worlds felt unbridgeable at that moment. But he wanted to try. He couldn't stand by while dreams were tossed aside like stale bread. In that moment of silence, a collective noise erupted from the street, a commotion that brought a sense of urgency to the air. A crowd gathered, eyes wide, lips murmuring in hushed tones. Mia's mother rushed from the back, her expression a blend of concern and hope. What's happening out there? She asked. Jake felt a shiver run through him, and without thinking, he stepped towards the door. I'll find out, he said, urgency pressing him forward as he opened the door. A sea of faces stared back at him, some familiar, some not. Among them, Jake recognized a few of the bakery's regulars who had been discussing its fate earlier. The worry in their eyes mirrored his own, amplifying the weight of the moment. People are coming to help, a voice shouted from the crowd. Come on, let us step up and save this. A rush of emotions flooded through him: hope, fear, determination. Would the community welcome him, or would they reject him for the privilege he represented? He knew deep down that he couldn't turn back now. He had to find a way to bridge the gap, to demonstrate his desire to understand and contribute. Behind him, Mia watched, her fierce spirit wavering between doubt and the flickering light of possibility. Would she let him in? Would she accept the stranger who was so unconnected to her reality? As the voices swelled around him, Jake took a deep breath, ready to step into the unknown. But at the back of his mind echoed a lingering question: was he brave enough to face his father and his own past as well while trying to build something new for Mia and her community? The moment for connection and transformation was now. Would he embrace it, or would he be lost in the shadows of his own fears? The next chapter of his life was waiting to unfold, and Jake felt the urgency push him forward. Jake stepped outside, squinting against the brightness of the afternoon sun. The crowd surged with energy, a mixture of familiar faces and strangers, all united by a common purpose. Cheers erupted sporadically, echoing off the brick walls of the bakery. Eyes filled with determination, the community was coming together, and somehow, Jake felt caught in the tide. Looks like they're rallying, he shouted, forcing a smile, and as he spoke, he felt a flicker of something he hadn't dared to hope for. Maybe he could be part of this after all. A woman with a thick braid stepped forward, her voice clear amidst the chatter. We're all here to help, but we need a plan. What can we do? We should figure out how to show our love for this place. Jake's heart quickened at the sight of their unity. He couldn't help but feel a tug at his own emptiness. What if we throw a community bake sale? He suggested, the idea tumbling from his mouth. People are eager to contribute and show support, right? We could invite local businesses, and maybe even collaborate on some ingredients. Murmurs of agreement ricocheted through the crowd, but Mia stepped beside him, her expression still cautious. And then what? A bake sale won't fix everything overnight. It's a start, but this place needs more than just a bandage. She was right, of course. Gaps widened by years of silence, and anger couldn't disappear with a single event. Jake's thoughts collided again with the image of his father, the man who had walked away, leaving wounded pride behind. But he had to focus. This wasn't about him alone. Maybe we can use the sale to communicate to the community who we really are, Jake said, feeling the fire inside him ignite. We can tell them why this bakery matters not just to us, but to them too. We build trees with roots, not just branches. Around him, talk began to bubble. People paired off, discussing baking plans, materials they could donate, recipes they could use. It was contagious, and with every passing second, he could feel hope cresting like a tide. Yet, in the back of his mind, a fear lingered. He was opening himself up to the very people he had distanced himself from. Would they ever truly accept him? Was he just a novelty, a rich boy dabbling in something he couldn't understand? The memory of judgmental glares, of fear and repeat conversations with the men in suits, gnawed at him. A hand touched his arm. It was Mia. You can be a part of this if you let go of the guilt, Jake, she urged gently, as if peering directly into his thoughts. You're here now. That's what matters. Just be honest with us and yourself. Her words sank deep within him, creating ripples of confrontation. He had to face not just the uncertainty of acceptance from her and the community, but the lingering shadows of his past that clouded his path. I will, he promised, barely letting the resolve settle around him. A sense of communication ignited that moment, transforming the air thick with tension into something lighter. The crowd had gathered even closer, minds abuzz with ideas, laughter weaving through plans. A child climbed atop a stack of boxes, rallying people to share their taste preferences for treats. The spirit of the bakery, the heart of the community, pulsed stronger than ever. Come on, we can save this place, someone shouted, and before Jake knew it, he was swept up in a whirlwind of handshakes and laughter. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. But in the midst of it all, he became acutely aware of the looming shadow across the street. His father still stood there, watching. The past tried to break back in, and Jake realized that facing his dad was as crucial as all the bakery's plans combined. He took a step back, catching his breath as the warmth of togetherness swirled around him. I need to do this, he whispered to himself, determination flooding back. He glanced towards Mia, who was deeply engaged in conversation with a few others. Mia, he called out, his voice a mix of hope and concern. What if we invited people to share their stories at the bake sale? We could remember those who loved this place and those who lost things too, you know? As he spoke, Mia turned to him, eyes wide and curious. That's different. But how would we do that? The anticipation was woven tightly into the crowd's buzz. Jake made a choice right there, both risky and liberating. I'll talk to them, share my own story if I must. I won't hide anymore. The thrill of a new journey surged within him. But just then, he spotted his father stepping away from the curb. Tension gripped his chest. This wasn't just about the bakery anymore. This was about family, reconciliation, and finding his own place within a world he had long avoided. And in that moment, the walls Jake had built around his heart began to tremble, preparing him for an unforeseen confrontation. Would he find the strength to face his father after all this time? Would this reunion be a bridge or a new barrier? Jake's heart raced as he caught sight of his father moving through the crowd. Each step his dad took felt like a drumbeat, echoing the fear and uncertainty pulsing within him. Would he simply turn away again? Would this be another moment of rejection? He felt the warmth of the community dwindling, the laughter becoming distant. Mia, he said, clasping her arm tightly, I need a moment. Okay, she replied, her voice softening as she caught the conflict in his eyes. You got this. Jake stepped away, the jubilant noise fading into the background as he approached the edge of the gathering. His father paused for a moment outside the crowd, crossing his arms defensively. A furrow of troubled thought creased his brow. Somewhere between the man he once knew and the stranger before him, Jake felt lost. Dad, he called, his voice a shaky thread pulling them together. His father turned slowly, disbelief flickering across his face. Jake, why are you here? The question burst out before he could stop himself, loaded with confusion and hurt, years of unresolved feelings spilling into the air. I wanted to see how it was going. His father shifted his weight, unable to maintain eye contact. I heard about the bakery's struggles. Jake took a tentative step closer, every nerve ending on high alert. You must have heard a lot while living out there. With your life. The words stung, but they were the truth. His father had left, Traded the family's legacy for something he decided was better money and prestige. A world Jake had never wanted. Jake, I know I made mistakes. His father's voice cracked, the weight of remorse hanging heavy between them. I've thought about reaching out, but I didn't think I had the right? Jake felt the surge of anger rise momentarily before it collapsed back into confusion. You just left us. The memories of empty dinners, missed birthdays, and silence surged within him, wrapping around his heart. You walked away from us and from this place. You think it was easy for me? His father's eyes flashed with defense and something akin to sadness. The pressure, the expectations I thought pulling away would help you. Help? Help what? Jake's voice was rising now, echoing the turmoil within him. You think you left help behind? You turned your back. The crowd had begun to dim around them, yet he felt as if they were in an empty arena, spotlight shining only on their shared struggle. But just as anger surged, a wave of unexpected pain washed over Jake as he glimpsed the hurt in his father's eyes. I lost my way, too, his father admitted quietly. But I'll always regret what it did to our family. A heavy silence settled between them, weight pushing down without easing the tension. Jake felt the knot in his chest tighten further. Was it too late for reconciliation? Just then, he remembered the bakery, the community rallying together, their stories waiting to be told, and he wanted his father to be part of that. We're putting on a bake sale. This community means everything to me, Dad. It's our last chance to save something we once loved. His father hesitated, then nodded slowly, concern stretching across his features. I'd like to help as much as you'll let me. Jake considered the offer, the tentative bridge forming between them. It was small but real, a start. I want you there, Dad, with me sharing, not just for the bakery, but for us. As Jake spoke these words, he could almost see the past shifting, uncertain yet hopeful. Acceptance wasn't easy, and forgiveness would take time. Yet he felt a sliver of something new unfurling between them, a chance to rebuild. But as the uncertainty of the moment lingered, capturing both of their breaths in the air, a sudden cheer erupted from the crowd. They'd begun to craft their plans for the bake sale, and as laughter began to rise like the smell of fresh bread, Jake and his father stood on the brink of something transformative. Let us go, he said, an unsteady determination building again. Jake stepped away from the fear and confronted the chaos of what lay ahead. This might not fix everything, but it was a start, and he needed to face this journey not alone, but with family beside him. Just then, Mia called out, waving him over. Jake, you need to see this. You won't believe who just showed up. Jake's heart skipped. The warmth and unity of the crowd enveloped him once again. But would this new arrival turn the tide in a way they never expected? As Jake sprinted toward Mia, a mix of anxious anticipation and lingering doubt surged through him. He half expected another blow, another twist that would shake the fragile peace he felt with his father. What could this new arrival mean for him? Mia stood at the edge of a booth, her eyes wide and shining with excitement. The crowd parted, revealing a tall figure with an easy smile that lit up the early evening shadow. Jake's heart nearly stopped. Was that really who he thought it was? Is that? Jake stuttered as he approached. Yes, it's Eden, Mia exclaimed. She just got back from college and came straight here. Eden, the girl who had always believed in Jake, even when he felt invisible. His childhood friend, whose laughter had once intertwined so effortlessly with his dreams, was back in town. He pushed through the gathering crowd until he was standing before her. Their eyes locked, and a wave of familiarity washed over him, bringing with it memories of shared moments in the dusty lanes of their childhood. She had a way of making everything seem possible even when the world felt otherwise. Jake, she exclaimed, stepping forward and enveloping him in a quick embrace. I can't believe it's you. Eden, it's been too long, she interjected, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. She let go, her gaze flitting to the people around them. I've heard about what's happening with the bakery. I want to help. The sincerity in her voice ignited a flicker of hope deep in Jake's chest. You really want to be part of this? Of course. I took baking classes. I'm not a pro, but I love to contribute. What do you need? Jake's heart swelled, A dam of emotion burst open. We could use as many hands as we can get. Every cookie counts. Mia chimed in, her infectious positivity tangible. Plus, we can spread the word. Eden, you have so many friends. Everyone's going to want to come out for this. As they shared hopeful plans, Jake's father stood to the side, watching. He looked both proud and uncertain, as if he were seeing a world he had stepped away from come back to life in vibrant colors. Each laugh and story shared between Eden, Jake, and Mia drew him closer, yet pushed him back at the same time. Eden noticed him. Jake, is that your dad? She asked, her brows raising in surprise. Jake hesitated, anxiety creeping back in. Yeah, it's complicated, he replied, the weight of his past visible in his tone. Eden approached his father and extended her hand. Hello, Mr. Johnson. I'm Eden. It's nice to meet you. His father took her hand, visibly surprised. Nice to meet you, too, Eden. The moment felt suspended, emotions swirling around them. Jake could almost hear the words unsaid, the tension brewing in the air. The past and present collided unpredictably. How are you finding your way back? His father asked, his voice softer now. Honestly, Eden shared, her smile unwavering. I realized that this community, these memories, they're what shape who we are. I can't lose touch with that. Jake observed the impact of her words on his father. A slight tightening in his jaw, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. Jake felt a shift. He wasn't sure what it meant yet, but there was something in the air, an unspoken possibility hanging between them all. This moment felt significant, bursting with layers waiting to be unraveled. Let's make something great together, he finally said, standing tall. The bakery, this community, it's our chance not just to save something, but to rebuild. As they began exchanging ideas, excitement swirled around them like flour in the air. Jake's heart felt lighter, but just as he found hope in their planning, a commotion surged through the crowd. His chest tightened again when he noticed the sudden shift. What's happening? Mia asked, her gaze caught by a gathering on the other side of the square. Jake turned, unease creeping in again. The crowd was growing more chaotic, chatter rising above laughter. Beneath the swell of excitement, something felt off. Stay close, Jake warned, his instincts on high alert. What had shifted now? He took a step forward, curiosity battling worry. As he rushed to see what had captured everyone's attention, his heart raced, uncertainty laced with the hope of what lay ahead. But what could come next would change everything once again. Jake pushed through the throng, his heart pounding faster than it had in all of last week. The warmth of Eden and Mia's presence had ignited something within him, a flicker of light that felt so fragile. But that light was quickly dimming as he caught glimpses of concerned faces around him. What anxiety lay behind those expressions? He navigated through the crowd, the sounds of chatter and laughter growing distant as he neared the source of the commotion. A group had formed, their voices rising in a cacophony of alarm and disbelief. He could hear snippets of conversation that only added to his unease. What happened? Is it really true? What do you mean she just collapsed? Jake's stomach dropped as he squeezed through the last few people blocking his view. Then he saw her, an elderly woman crumpled on the ground, a basket of bread spilling at her feet. Panic surged through him like a tidal wave, eclipsing all thoughts of rebuilding. Call an ambulance, someone yelled, but Jake felt a different pull. He recalled moments where he had felt helpless in the face of uncertainty and wanted nothing more than to act. He dropped to his knees beside her, instinctively checking for signs of life. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he murmured, his voice steady even as his heart raced. She was breathing, though it was shallow. A few folks from the crowd knelt down beside him, their faces reflecting the tense urgency of the situation. "Is she okay?" Mia called from behind him, her voice tight with worry. "Not sure yet. Just stay back and give us some space," Jake replied, his eyes shifting to the surrounding crowd. He felt Eden's presence next to him, her calm demeanor grounding him. "Someone get water. Does anyone have some water?" Eden shouted, scanning the group for answers. The moment stretched on, and the woman's pale face tightened in distress. Jake's heart sank as he reached for her hand, feeling its roughness beneath his palm. She was frail, but warmth still lingered in her touch. "You're not alone," he whispered, swallowing hard. He could feel the crowd's collective breath, the weight of concern hanging like dark clouds over them. And then something incredible happened. The woman's eyes fluttered open briefly, revealing a flicker of awareness. "My bread," she murmured, her voice too fragile, almost lost in the air. "Your bread is safe. It's right here," Jake reassured her, looking at the scattered loaves strewn across the cobblestone. Knowing they represented more than just food. They were hope, survival, and memories of better days. From the back of the crowd, someone shouted, "It's Miss Clara. She gives bread to everyone in the neighborhood." The recognition rippled through the crowd, faces shifting from concern to a mix of admiration and fear. She had always been a fixture in their lives, a symbol of sustenance in their tight-knit community. "What can we do?" Mia asked urgently, her eyes darting around as if searching for a solution. Jake felt a reassuring squeeze from Eden, emboldening him. "We need to stay calm. Let the medics handle the rest. But we should show her that she is not alone." With the weight of so many eyes on him, Jake stood, his spirit ignited. He turned to the crowd, a wave of determination surging within him. "Let us gather the bread and make sure it gets to her. Let us show Miss Clara that we're here for her." A wave of movement followed, people scrambling to collect every loaf that had been scattered, creating a small mountain of bread before returning to Clara's side. The energy shifted from fear to a collective mission, echoes of encouragement rising amid the urgency. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue over the gathering crowd. Jake felt a new sense of purpose, a realization that amidst personal struggles, they could still band together. But just as hope began to ignite anew, he glanced back at his father. The older man had grown pale, his expression marred by conflict. "Dad, are you okay?" Jake called out, worry creeping back. His father nodded, but the haunted look in his eyes told a different story. The past was resurfacing, and the real challenge was yet to come. As the medics arrived, Jake felt the connection with his father teeter on a fragile edge. Would this moment of crisis pull them together or push them apart? Just then, a familiar face caught his eye, a figure stepping out from the back of the crowd, someone he never expected to see again. And just like that, Jake's heart dropped into uncertainty once more. Jake's breath hitched as the figure stepped into the fading light. It was Tom, his childhood friend, the one person he thought he had lost to the past. Tom's smile was strained, yet familiar, a haunting reminder of a friendship that faded with their different paths. Seeing him here, on this chaotic day, sent a shiver coursing through Jake's veins. "Tom?" Jake called out, disbelief coloring his voice. Tom's eyes widened with recognition, his expression a mix of surprise and caution. "Jake, I didn't expect to see you here. Is everything okay?" Jake asked, a nervous tension tightening within him, hoping Tom was as unaffected by their past as he appeared. Before Tom could respond, the medics rushed past, positioning themselves by Miss Clara. The air crackled with urgency. The crowd, having gathered bread as Jake directed, now leaned closer, their collective breath revealing a shared hope for Clara's recovery. "What happened to her?" Tom finally asked, his voice lowered, almost protective as he eyed the crowd. "She collapsed," Jake replied. "But we're here for her. We're trying to support her." Tom studied the scene for a moment, the tension in his forehead relaxing just enough for Jake to feel a flicker of their old camaraderie. "You're doing good work, man. I admire that." With a heart still racing, Jake dropped his gaze to the ground, struggling to express everything that rattled within him. "What about you? Why are you back?" Tom hesitated, the shadows of unspoken feelings hanging heavy between them. Well, things turned out differently than I planned. I've been trying to figure things out." "Yeah." Jake felt an impulse to reach through the barriers that had built up over time. It was ridiculous to think they could pick back up so easily after everything, but something in Tom's eyes made him want to bridge that gap. "You should stick around. Maybe we can make it an old-times reunion?" Tom interrupted, shaking his head with a slight smirk. You're still the optimist, I see. About letting go of resentment. About forgiving even when it hurt. The sound of Clara's labored breathing reached them, yanking both of their heads back to the gathered crowd. The medics worked quickly, and the atmosphere shifted once more. Hope teetered on the edge of fear again. As Jake watched, he felt a familiar pang of helplessness creeping in. He realized he couldn't do it all alone, either when it came to Clara or even with Tom, the friend who had once been so important in his life. We can help her. We should be helping her. Tom nodded slowly, something deep in his eyes revealing a hint of longing. Together, then, Jake flashed him a small smile. Maybe this day hadn't turned into a nightmare after all. Maybe, just maybe, there was light breaking through those dark clouds. The medics finally stabilized Clara. A collective sigh of relief echoed among the crowd. Just as hope began to lift spirits, another unexpected figure stepped from the shadows. Clara's estranged daughter, whom everyone thought had left for good years ago. Jake's heart beat louder. What would this mean for Clara, for him, for all the moments they thought they had put behind them? Would they rise together from the ashes of a forgotten past? Or would new conflicts threaten the fragile unity that seemed to be forming? That question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. The crowd shifted, murmurs rolling like waves as Clara's daughter stepped into the light. Her name was Lily, a once-trodden memory that now collided with reality. Jake watched her face, flush with shock and something more profound. Was it guilt? Regret? The air hummed with the collective curiosity of the onlookers, all eyes darting between the medics and Clara's daughter, uncertain of how to react. Lily? Tom asked, stepping closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Lily's gaze darted to Tom, a flicker of recognition crossing her features. Tom, you're here? The disconnection between them felt almost palpable, reminding Jake of how swiftly familiarity can sour into estrangement. Is Clara? She began, but the question tumbled with such urgency that it scraped against emotions like sandpaper. She's stable, Jake interjected, hoping to soothe the tension building in Lily's eyes. You came just in time. Lily nodded, though her unreadable expression hinted at deeper battles than mere concern for her mother's health. She moved past them, weaving her way to the medics. The crowd parted, whispers rippling behind her, laden with questions. When Jake caught Tom's eye, their previous lightness clashed with the heaviness of the moment. What do you think she wants? Tom asked quietly, as though speaking too loudly might wake the ghosts of their past. I don't know, Jake replied, anxiety curling within him. But I think this could be a chance for her. For Clara. For both of us. They stood in silence, the weight of the reunion pressing down. Jake could see Clara's still form as medics worked to stabilize her further. Around them, the crowd ebbed and flowed like a living organism, each breath drawn tight with anticipation. Lily knelt beside her mother, inking the air with a soft whisper. Mom, please, I'm here. I didn't mean to abandon you. Jake strained to hear, but the words slipped through the gap like water through fingers. Tom placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. Maybe this is more complicated than we thought. Clara and her daughter, they have a lot to work through. Yes, but so do we, Jake countered, the underlying frustration surfacing. We can't give up on each other. Clara needs us, and maybe we need to figure us out first, Tom replied, his voice weighed down by uncertainty. As Clara began to stir, Lily's eyes widened with fear, her voice growing more frantic. Please, Mom. Stay with me. Please. Jake's heart raced. He felt solidarity swell between him and Tom with every moment that passed. Here was a chance to heal, to connect, to find a path forward. They had to let the old pain weave into something new, something stronger. Clara's recovery could be the start of it all. Just then, Clara's eyes fluttered open. A shaky breath filled her lungs, and she gazed up at Lily, confusion giving way to something softer. Lily? Mom, I'm here, Lily breathed, tears shimmering like a mosaic of hope across her cheeks. The crowd exhaled as one, relief flooding through. But something deeper lingered in the air, like a storm cloud waiting to release itself. Jake could sense the shift within Tom. You think this is the beginning? he asked, barely loud enough to hear over the crowd. What I think, Jake said, pressing his lips together, is that we're on the edge of something big. We just have to be brave enough to embrace it. Would they find the courage to confront their feelings, to open old wounds and allow healing to take place? As Clara and Lily shared their moment, Jake felt the weight of choices pressing against him. The moment of truth hovered like a whisper, and as Jake looked at Tom, uncertainty swirled. What lay ahead could change everything. Lily's voice broke through the noise, low and trembling as she held her mother's gaze. I'm here, Mom. I love you. The power in her words hung in the air, mingling with the murmurs of the crowd, stitching hearts together in a fragile moment of vulnerability. Clara's brow furrowed, as if her mind were piecing together fragments of a long-lost puzzle. Lily, she whispered, her voice hoarse and cracking, steeped in disbelief. You came, of course. I did, Lily insisted softly, tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. I never meant to leave you. Around them, the crowd held its breath, a living, breathing entity captivated by the rawness unfolding before them. Jake felt the gravity of the scene press like a weight on his chest. The anger and confusion he held for Lily began to ebb, replaced by something tender and hopeful. Tom shifted next to him, his expression somber. This is huge, he murmured, eyeing the reunion. But what comes next? Can they really fix this? I think they can, Jake replied, though his voice wavered. If they're willing to open up, to be honest with each other. He watched as Clara locked her eyes onto Lily, fierce determination glimmering through her confusion. You should have called. You should have known. I needed you. I know, Lily cried, the weight of her guilt crashing down. But I was scared, Mom. I didn't know how to face you after everything. Clara winced, each word hitting her like darts. Scared of what? Scared of me? Before Lily could answer, a medic stepped forward, assessing Clara's condition with both caution and urgency. We need to finish here, he said gently but firmly. Can her daughter step back for a moment? Jake felt a wave of irritation rise in him at the interruption. Time was ticking away, but this moment felt so crucial, fragile like glass. Yet, as the medic worked, Jake noticed the way Clara looked at Lily, a sorrowful mix of love and hurt. It made him realize that healing wouldn't happen in one breath. Mom, Lily took a step closer anyway, ignoring the medic's pointed glance. Please hang on. I'm not going anywhere this time. Promise. What happened to you? Clara asked, her vulnerability cutting through the medic's professionalism. Why did you stay away for so long? I thought you'd be better off without me, that maybe you'd moved on. The words rushed out, fueled by a history of heartbreak. But I was wrong. I should have been here for you. Always. The air thickened with emotion as Clara closed her eyes, tears slipping from the corners. She didn't say anything, but the struggle carved deep lines into her face. Jake felt the walls they both built around their hearts begin to tremble. Clara, Tom said quietly, breaking the silence. You have a chance to speak your truth, to tell her how you feel. The medic hesitated, allowing for a brief pause in the chaos of attending to Clara. Jake held his breath, wondering if this moment could turn fragile words into firm foundations. Clara, her voice now barely a whisper, replied, I couldn't protect you, Lily. I failed you. Lily's face crumpled, the weight of the truth crashing around them. You didn't, Mom. You did your best. And I'm here now. We can make it through. Jake felt a flicker of hope ripple through him. Could they really work through their pain? He turned to Tom, who stared wide-eyed at the scene, disbelief and hope flickering in his gaze. What if they actually forgive each other? Tom wondered, voice carrying the weight of 1,000 questions. Then there's a chance for the rest of us, too, Jake responded quietly. As the medics continued their work, the air buzzed with possibilities. Could rebuilding truly emerge from the ashes of neglect? As Clara squeezed Lily's hand, the tender, unspoken promises echoed loud enough to fill the silence, with both women grasping onto one another. A notion hoisted itself above the heaviness. Could love conquer the wounds they both suffered? And as Jake faced Tom, a thought clenched in his gut. There was more to their story. The path ahead loomed large, fraught with choices that could either destroy or redefine them. But one thing was clear: the next step would determine everything. The air buzzed with a delicate tension as Jake stood, watching Clara and Lily cling to each other. The moments they had lost hung heavy, but the warmth of reconciliation began to envelop them all. It was a turning point, a vivid reminder of how love could break through even the toughest barriers. Around Jake, murmurs of hope peppered the crowd. He could feel the pulse of their unity, a collective heartbeat echoing the yearning for connection. The bakery, the community, it was more than just a physical space. It was a canvas painted with shared memories, hopes, and now, a stunning possibility for healing. Mia's small frame radiated enthusiasm. "This is the start of something beautiful," she announced, her voice cutting through the murmur. It was a call to action that sparked a ripple of determination among them. "If they can reconnect, so can we. Let us save this bakery together." A renewed fire ignited within Jake. Suddenly, his worries about acceptance and his past seemed less daunting. The ties that bound them were often frayed but never severed. He turned to the crowd, his voice rising above the whispers. "We can be that change. For Clara, for her daughter, and for everyone who needs this bakery. Let us pull together." Tom nodded, stepping forward, his presence adding to Jake's fervor. "It's time for all of us to share our stories, too. Just like Clara and Lily, let us open up. We have a community here, not just in name, but in heart." Encouragement swelled in the crowd, and people began to share their own connections to Miss Clara and the bakery. Stories of kindness and generosity floated through the air, each voice lifting the others higher. It was chaotic. It was beautiful, and through it all, Jake glanced at his father, who stood at the outskirts, watching. The tension etched in his features gradually softened. Perhaps he, too, was starting to comprehend the power of community, the ties of blood and love breaking through the distance that had once seemed insurmountable. "Dad, join us," Jake said, feeling brave enough to step toward the man he had once thought lost forever. "This is what we need. We can work on this together. We can rebuild not only the bakery but our family, too." The tremor in his voice echoed hope that he desperately felt. His father looked conflicted but then stepped toward Jake, and together they walked into the heart of the community's energy. Laughter, chatter, and plans filled the air like the scent of fresh bread. It was music to Jake's ears, a melody of connection, both fragile and fierce as Clara continued recovering. A glint of clarity shone in her eyes. She was finally awakening to the love surrounding her and the opportunity to heal old wounds with Lily. The past didn't have to dictate their future. They could write a new story, together in the midst of chaotic beauty. Jake felt the tears brim from his eyes, relief flooding through him. He was not alone. They were not alone. Maybe this was what belonging felt like, a community fighting for each other and, in turn, fighting to reclaim their own shattered pieces. As laughter swelled and ideas blossomed for the bake sale, a breeze swept through the square, carrying the warmth of new beginnings. With every passing moment, hope was igniting flames of courage, powerful enough to light their way home. "Let us get to work, everyone," Mia exclaimed, her eyes shining like stars against the dusk. "Tomorrow we bake for Clara. We'll turn this bakery into a beacon for this entire neighborhood." Cheers erupted, hands joined, hearts opened. Each person, embodying a part of something greater, began to brainstorm, creating plans that flowed like the dough they would soon knead and bake. Jake stood, immersed in the energy, surrounded by laughter and warmth. He felt connected, purpose soaring through his heart. The path ahead wasn't going to be easy, but it would be worth it. With determination, he looked around, ready to embrace whoever and whatever came next. It was his moment, their moment. This was the beginning of everything. Now, if you felt moved by this incredible tale of transformation and community, you need to subscribe now. Don't let this moment pass you by. Hit that bell and ensure you're part of our journey, so you never miss a story again. Leave a like now to show your support and help us reach more hearts. This is the moment for you to be a part of our family. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this heartwarming ending. What does community mean to you? And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remind them that together, we are stronger. Don't wait not even one more second, take action now. Your connection can help us grow and inspire others. Thank you for being part of our story.